Greetings my dear friends, this video is special. Today we are going to disassemble Skyrim, but it's not going to be a simple review. We are going to find every single flaw in the story and then fix it, because today I'm going to give you the knowledge of how every computer game, every movie and every story works. By the end of this video you will look at these products completely differently, because I will reveal this beautiful nature of storytelling on our today's guest. To understand how the story works, we must first understand the structure. All pop games, movies, books that have the goal of attracting as large an audience as possible follow the Aristotelian structure of drama. It means that the story has a beginning, a middle and end. His rules were written more than 2000 years ago and have undoubtedly evolved little since then. In 2005, American screenwriter Black Snyder used the evolution of Aristotle's work and established special moments to ensure that the story will have a dynamic and therefore won't be boring. Just using the structure won't make the story unique, so it's not a panacea, but it's perfect for dissembling the story, measuring the dynamics and understanding the character's transformation. And these two things are the most important when the story forces us to empathize with it. You all know these beautiful, epic, magical openings in movies. The opening scene sets the atmosphere, tone and mood of the product. Usually, just by watching the opening scene you can tell that the movie or book is going to be about. It usually introduces the main character, his problems and goals, so we can understand what's going to happen. And a little secret, the opening scene must be exact opposite of the ending scene, because every single story is about a transformation. All characters have problems and shortcomings, so we can empathize with them. They actually miserable in the beginning, but going through the story, getting rid of these shortcomings, transforming themselves and becoming a little better, at the end heroes feel happy to show dramatical upheaval. Skyrim begins with a carriage ride. We are strangers traveling through a dark, cold and wild Skyrim torn by a civil war. We are surrounded by rebels who are going to be executed. One of them, Ralph, explains that the Empire ambushed the rebels and captured us because we crossed the border illegally right where the battle between the rebels and Empire took place. When we arrive in the Imperial Fortress, we are being sentenced to death. And just as we are about to be beheaded, a dragon from ancient legend saves us. While he burns the fortress to the ground, we escape on our own with the rebellious Ralph and the Imperial Hardware. But when it comes to leaving the fortress, we must make a choice and choose one of the companions to continue our journey with him. This is a beautiful opening sequence. We understand what's going on. We feel cold, dark atmosphere and the smell of death is in the air. Setup is though sometimes boring, sometimes not. First 10-20 minutes of movie or 10% pages of book when the character is introduced. The first act, so to say. There are also second and the third one, but think of it as thesis, antithesis and synthesis. This thesis moment sets up the motivation, the hero, the stakes and the goal of the story. It is a gathering storm that will hit in the second act. It must grab our attention and force us to keep watching, reading, playing the product. During the setup, we plan the hero's problems because every story is about the hero's transformation. Nobody loves ideal people. If they succeed in everything, why should we empathize with them? For example, One Punch Man is a story about a perfect fighter, but he is not perfect inside. He struggles with inner conflicts that do not allow him to live a normal life. The only way to deal with them is to transform himself into a better person, and this problem serves as fuel for the hero. The second important thing is the stakes. If the hero has a problem, but this problem means nothing, will we empathize with the hero? No. It is crucial for the audience to feel that if the hero fails, there won't be any second try or turn back. The hero will die or maybe worse. The third item is the goal. This is the last component of our fuel. The hero has to want something, a girl, money, becoming a superhero or something else, but there always must be a motivation for the hero to act or want something. Skyrim's setup begins right after we escape from the fortress. We travel with our companion to the nearest village, Riverwood, and the relatives of our companion, when they find out that we escaped from the dragon, send us to the main town to warn the local Jarl that this village needs defense forces in case the dragon will attack them. We agree, travel to Whiterun, and after warning the Jarl about the dragon, he begs us to find an ancient stone about dragons that might give humans a chance to withstand these flying beasts.
Oh, you were at Helgen. You saw this dragon with your own eyes? Really? You're certainly forthright about your criminal past. But it's none of my concern who the Imperials want to execute, especially now. What I want to know is what exactly happened at Helgen. By Ysmir, Irileth was right! What do you say now, Proventus? Shall we continue to trust in the strength of our walls? Against the dragon? Well done. You sought me out on your own initiative. You've done Whiterun a service, and I won't forget it. Here, take this as a small token of my esteem. There is another thing you could do for me. Suitable for someone of your particular talents, perhaps?
By traveling to the mountain, exploring the dungeon, our hero finds it, obscures the magic words, and comes back to Whiterun where the strange figure in the hood wants to get it.
Good. I'm glad you're making progress. My employers are anxious to have some tangible answers.
Mission was correct after all, and we have our friend here to thank for recovering it.
You went into Bleak Falls Barrow and got that? Nice work.
That was the setup moment of Skyrim. Now let's talk about what we saw in terms of story structure. Who is our character? We are nobody, literally nobody. This is acceptable, not bad, interesting concept if offers implemented. But what is our character's goal? Maybe we have a reason for doing all these tasks. No, we don't. Why should we do all these things? Help those citizens, warn the Jarl, maybe there are some stakes. Maybe the dragon will burn them all? No, because the dragon has flown away. We see no sign of him anymore, and he is not a threat to anyone. Everything looks fine, and the authors even emphasize with it when we leave the fortress. Just look at it. We should ask ourselves a question: what will happen if we don't warn the Jarl? Will the world be destroyed? No, it won't be. So we have neither goal nor the stakes. And it can be hard to talk about the goal for the character who is literally no one, but then the stakes have to be really high. If you ever downloaded mods for Skyrim, you probably found a modification that added a countdown before the world was destroyed if this giant dragon Alduin was not stopped. This is a good example of high stakes, because if we don't act, we lose. But personally, I would not rely on countdown in this matter, but on drama. For example, why not to burn everything near the fortress? Burn Riverwood village and then add another one on the way to Whiterun. By burning the forest and the village where our companions' relatives live, we can show how dangerous the dragon is. Instead of finding them alive, we can find them dying, so the next village will beg us more for help. We can add 2 more villages on the way to Whiterun to add more drama, to see the citizens who have found their homes destroyed as well. In addition, let's talk about our companion. He won't play any role in the future. We bid farewell with him and that's all. We forget about him forever. That is why I think it is wise to kill him. The best way to do it is to make him sacrifice himself in the fortress to save us from the Alduin. And his death has sense in my story. You will understand why in the future. If the setup is a preparation for the storm, the catalyst is the storm. This is a brief moment when the status quo is changed forever. It forces our hero to leave his normal life and travel for the adventures, because after it is impossible to continue his normal life. The letter from Hogwarts in Harry Potter, the explosion of the apartment in Fight Club, or moment when the Charlie gets the golden ticket in movie Chocolate Factory. It has to be tremendous because that is the only way we want to force the hero to step into a new adventure. In Skyrim, that moment comes after we bring the ancient stone to Jarl. At the same time, a dragon attacked a tower near the city. With some guards and Irelet, Jarl's bodyguard, we kill this dragon and suddenly absorb its souls like the ancient warrior Dovahkiin. This is the catalyst. On the way back to Jarl, we hear a scream from the mountain calling for us. But one thing disappoints me. I'm talking about dragons. They can be defeated with 5 warriors, and all of them will survive. Dragons do not seem to be deadly. Where are the stakes? Let us create them ourselves then. Irelet. She's a bodyguard of the Jarl Balgrove who wants to find fame. We meet her right after we arrive at Jarl's castle. Afterwards, she leads a group to kill the dragon. I want her dead because after we kill the dragon, she will play no role in the story, so we don't need her. But we need to create some drama. So the best way to do it is to send her with us to find an ancient stone in the mountains. As our companion on this journey, we could get to know her better, discover her tragic story and goals, and maybe even to make her own companion after the mission. But right after we were able to establish some sort of relationship with her, bam, she dies. Just like everyone else who joined us on the mission to kill Dragon. Debate is the moment when the hero denies everything that happened in Catalyst. This moment exists because it's our human nature to think about what was happened to us. In other words, it is the hero's last chance to say this is crazy. He asks questions. Dare I go, should I go, or should I stay here? Skyrim's debate moment is when the Jarl discusses with his advisors whether we are truly a Dovahkiin, what can it mean, and should we answer the call from the mount. It is quite short and quite boring because there is no force that would push the idea that we should not meet Greybeards. How can we make it better? We can make it more interesting by making the catalyst more powerful, so there is no need even to think about should we go or should we not go. For example, like in Harry Potter. So what is the problem with catalyst? We killed the dragon and nobody even died. Why should I go anywhere when ordinary guards can kill these beasts, if you even can call them like that? No need to save the world when literally anyone can do it. In my opinion, in addition to Irelet's death, it would be a great idea to burn part of Whiterun, to show how destructive the dragons are. Also, it will add more tension to the debate part where the nobility and the Jarl will argue a bit more passionately. After this dragon is killed, the citizens start to rebuild their homes and restore Whiterun, but the fact is the dragons are deadly, and if the hero does not find a solution, Skyrim won't survive because no one can stop them. It will drive the debate. The break into is the moment when our hero is completely determined and knows what he's going to do. It is a transition from our first thesis act to the second antithesis. The hero leaves the old world and enters the new one that is an inverted version of an old one. It is important that the hero himself decides to enter this new reality. Usually during this transition, we see the hero naturally walking, riding, or flying somewhere. In Skyrim, this is depicted by traveling to the Greybeards, monks who live on High Hrothgar Mountain and follow the Path of Voice, where they will teach us the power of Scream that we can save the world from dragons. As we travel and climb, we can read the story of the war between dragons and humans, how dragons ruled the world, but one dragon betrayed the others and gave the power of voice to humans so they could defeat the dragons and break the tyranny of Alduin. Now comes the part you always wait for when you play games, watch movies and read books. This is the part you always see on posters and covers. It is about space battles, intrigues, adventures and more. Fun and games is the biggest moment of all because the whole product is about it. But why does it have such name when most of the time heroes are suffering and not playing? It is called that because we are having fun. The idea of fun and games is that the hero should try to solve his problems using their own method gained in the catalyst moment. For example, the hero got the possibility to make a wish and force a woman he wanted to marry in the first act to marry him in fun and games. He gets what he wants right there, but of course he cannot succeed with magic because otherwise the movie will be bad, so fun and games is not the whole movie. Another crucial thing is that the second act must be always the direct opposite of the first act. I've said this before and I will repeat it once again because it is crucial. It creates the dynamic by putting the hero in a completely different world, forcing him to hurry and to act. Fun and Games is the half of the second act and it lasts until the middle of the movie. In addition, it has a direction because Fun and Games is a multi-beat which contains several scenes, and these scenes have ending depending on the direction of the beat. You see, we humans like drive, we love dynamics, otherwise we feel bored. That is why the second act is divided into parts. Fun and Games the first part and bad guys approaching the second part. Two of these moments are connected by the middle point. And to keep us focused on the product and not to get bored, one moment is always successful at the end and other is unsuccessful. You can see where the direction is going because the whole atmosphere of peace is to prepare you for the result. So the endings of the scenes that are contained in the rising moment will mostly be victorious. Or if the moment goes down, then more problems will be introduced for the character. And then all this leads us to the middle point where all these scenes are summed up and we get a false victory or false defeat. Why false victory or false defeat? Because it's still only half of the movie or book, so the hero cannot succeed or fail completely only in half of it. I offer you to think yourself what is the direction of Fun and Games in your favorite movies and how many times their hero wins and loses to create a dynamic and how the middle point of the film looks like. In Skyrim, the second act begins when we arrive at the Greybeard's castle, where the monks test us by screaming at the hero. They start teaching us the power of voice, and then as final test, we are sent to the dungeon to retrieve an ancient artifact, but in the dungeon we suddenly find out that someone took it before us, and this incognito wants to meet and talk with us in the Riverwood. In the village we find out that the owner of the tavern is a member of Ancient Order, and it was she who needed the ancient stone when we brought it to Jarl Balgrove, because it was not just an ancient stone, but an ancient map with all dragons' graves. She does not trust us and wants to prove that we are Davakin by killing a dragon. Together we run to the dragon's tomb and find Alduin, the dragon from the beginning who resurrects other dragons. We easily kill this poor little creature that was resurrected by Alduin, and Delphine, that's her name, tells us the truth. She says that she was a member of the Blades, the Septim Empire Emperor's bodyguard and dragon slayers who were supposed to serve Davakin. They fought against Talmor, the administration of Elven Empire which conquered the Septim Empire. Because elves conquered humans, they forced blades to become illegal, and after that Talmor began to hunt blades, so now these two organizations hate each other. Delphine thinks that Talmor is responsible for the resurrection of the dragons because when the Septim Empire wanted to execute the leader of the rebellion, this dragon saved him so he could continue the civil war and weaken the empire more. And Talmor wants the Septim Empire to spend more soldiers and resources on the war with the rebellion because otherwise Empire will defeat elves. That's what Delphine thinks. In terms of story structure concept, Delphine is a B-story character. It is a character who appears in the second act and whose purpose is to guide the hero towards transformation. B-story character can be a friend, a teacher, a lover, or an enemy. In our case, it is a friend and teacher and comrade. So theoretically, Delphine should help us to become a true hero. After, Delphine offers to sneak into Talmor's embassy and find out what Talmor is up to. But I personally think that there is not enough evidence to draw such a conclusion about Talmor. What kind of connection can some elves have with this dragon from Norse legends? They don't even show their interest in this theme. So I decided to take the artifact to the Greybeards firstly, which I should have done even before, and talk with them. As the reward, they gave me the best scream of all time. And after they greeted me as they greeted Talos, Davakin and the first emperor of the Septim Empire. They told me that the appearance of our hero Davakin has a direct connection with the appearance of the dragons. That means if Talmor is responsible for the dragon's comeback, they are also responsible for our appearance. And that means two possibilities. First, we are double agents in Talmor's service and we don't know it yet. This also explains how we appeared in Skyrim. Or it could be just a shitty writing that tries to combine things that have nothing to do with each other. We'll understand why later. On the other hand, we see some rudiments of contrast between the first and the second acts. In the first act, we were nobody, literally nobody. The catalyst made us a legendary warrior, a living myth. Now, we find that an ancient organization and great beards, the holy monks, are going to follow us like they followed the first emperor. So I like this idea of becoming a new emperor. It has a potential. We'll see how authors are going to use it. But at the same time, I don't see there any need for any investigation about dragons. We found out they're being resurrected by Alduin. We must fight him. And in addition, they don't come from somewhere outside Skyrim, so that means their numbers are limited. What we need to do now is take shovels, dig up graves and steal the bones of these dragons. Problem solved. What kind of investigation the writers are trying to implement when nothing forces us to hurry up and even there is no reason for it? There is no indication that the world will be destroyed if we do not do everything quickly. No one literally dies, because even in this battle with dragon what was resurrected by Alduin, the only thing that will be destroyed, and even not with 100% chance, is a one tavern. Okay, let's follow the story. We get into Talmar's embassy, sneak into the prohibited zone, kill elves, and guess what? We find out that Talmar has nothing to do with dragons. But fortunately, it's not all. We find out that Talmar is looking for Esbern, the librarian of the Blades, who knows everything about dragons, and we have to find him before Talmar does, because they want to get knowledge about dragons too. Following the steps of Esbern, in the dungeon we find this old man, and after killing all the elves, we travel with him back to Riverwood. Do you think that Talmar, such a powerful organization that spent a lot of time looking for this librarian, will continue to do so? You are deeply wrong. Talmar will not care about him or about us anymore. In Riverwood, Esbern explains that this dragon is Alduin, the harbinger of the end times. And to figure out how to stop him, we must find an ancient wall where the people long before us wrote a prediction about Alduin to warn the future generations. Fortunately, only Esbern knows where this wall is, and on the way to it, we kill some dragons, then the named people, and arrive at the Forgotten Temple of the Blades, where Esbern reads the story of how to defeat Alduin. The only way to slay him is to use magical scream that we unfortunately do not know. To find this scream, Delphin sends us to the Greybeards. I talked to the Greybeards who know this scream, but they cannot teach it to me. Only their leader Partornax can help us. We travel to the top of the mountain and there find Partornax, who appears to be a dragon. He tells us the story that Alduin ruled the world, and dragons who didn't agree with Alduin help humans to overthrow him by teaching the humankind the power of scream. But humans did not just learn the scream from dragons, they invented their own scream to make dragons mortal so they could kill Alduin. But to make sure they would defeat him, humans also used the Elder Scroll, an ancient artifact which could manipulate the time. And because Alduin has returned, it seems that the ancestors could not defeat him, so probably they sent him in the future by using Elder Scroll and made it our problem. Now we must find this artifact, travel back in time, learn this vital scream and finish what the ancestors could not. In search of this Elder Scroll, I come back to Arngir, and he says that maybe Colleague of Magic possess the knowledge about the Elder Scrolls. Furthermore, he says that the shout we want to learn will affect us, because if we learn any cry, it will become part of us. But the nature of Dragon Rend, shout which makes dragons mortal, will distort our soul because it's unnatural.
In order to learn and use this shout, you will be taking this evil into yourself.
And that's a lie. This scream will not affect us in any way, but we will fix it. In Colleague of Magic, the librarian explains that Elder Scrolls are very hard to find, so the only man who can really help us is Septimus Sigoni, who lives in the northern part of Skyrim. This man who has studied Elder Scrolls has gone insane because the nature of the Elder Scrolls drives anyone who tries to understand them insane. But fortunately for us, it won't drive us crazy, so we actually don't care about it. Septimus says that one of the Elder Scrolls is an ancient Morrowind city of Blackreach. We go there, find the Mzark, then the Blackreach itself, and then the Elder Scroll. Now, let's talk about the part that divides the movie in two and responsible for the dynamic transition. If the hero succeeded all the time, we would just get tired because nothing can stop the hero. That is why it is crucial to divide the actions dynamic into two parts. So in this case, after the middle part, if everything was going good for the hero, it must go wrong so the hero can find and understand his true inner problem, which did not let him to win in the middle. This is the purpose of the midpoint. The hero changes the focus from the outer problem to the inner one, which is being revealed there. The second purpose of the midpoint is to raise the stakes. This is where the heroes decide that the fun is over and it is time to get serious. The stakes can be raised in several ways. Setting a timer and forcing the hero to act quickly, a romantic twist, usually shown at the beginning but with an outcome, such a kiss or maybe more in the middle, which shows the new level of relationships. Plot twist, when heroes suddenly discover new information that changes everything. So for example, in Inception, this is both timer and plot twist, because one of the team members gets wounded and is going to die, and in addition members of the team figure out that their leader, the hero cop, lied to them and that their adventure in a dream will cost them life if they fail. They didn't knew that before. So the tension goes up and they have to hurry because their teammate is going to die if they don't act. This is the timer. And because of new information about the danger of this dream, they cannot turn back. This is the plot twist. The mission must be finished or they die. After getting the scroll, we return to Paternox and use it. In the past, we find out that the ancestors couldn't defeat Alduin despite they used the secret shout. So they used the Elder Scroll to send him in the future in hope that we will defeat him. During this fight, we learned the secret shout, and after traveling back to the future, we discovered that Alduin came here to give us a fight. Our hero uses the new shout and defeats Alduin, but it turns out we cannot finish him. This gives Alduin a moment to fly away. That moment is the midpoint because we learned the new information during the time travel. We start focus on Alduin instead of Talmor and other obstacles. But there is no raising of the stakes. No glimpse of the inevitability of defeat if we do nothing to evolve or adapt to eventually win. It becomes a problem because at this point we're more powerful than Alduin, so the purpose of the game, its sense, its meaning, gone. There is no sense to play this game anymore. Imagine that you won a competition against your rival. You are proud of yourself, and if you were not smart enough, you would probably say that no one will ever come closer to your level. You start resting on your laurels, devaluing the efforts of people who helped you get rich at this point when you are the strongest. Your true nature is an ungrateful person is revealed in its own beauty, and at the same time, the competitor was diligently prepared for the next competition. And the next time you meet, there is nothing you can do. You have lost your glory, you have lost your friends because of your inner complexity. This part of the second act is the moment when the forces of evil align against the hero, and usually the hero meets the inner enemy in addition to the outer one. And the same thing happens even if your character loses in the middle, but there he will regroup and try to prevail instead of degrading because it happened in fun and games. The idea of bad guys closing in is that the secret problem is exposed. While fun and games focuses on giving the hero the ability to do whatever he wants, bad guys begins to limit him, and that shows him the true path to victory. In Skyrim, after we defeat Alduin, Paternox says that we must find the place where Alduin lives by capturing his ally. The only place in Skyrim where the dragon can be captured is Dragon's Reach. So now we travel to Whiterun because we need to convince Jarl Balgruuf to use his castle as bait for the dragon. So that, as you can see, is a change of focus to our main enemy Alduin because we want to find him. This is good. Jarl Balgruuf refuses to help us because Whiterun didn't choose a side in civil war, so the Empire or Stormcloaks can strike at any moment. That is the reason why he cannot devote more guards to help us. He decides that we need to start truce talks at Greybeard's keep so he could support our idea of capturing the dragon. We convince both the Imperial General and the rebel leader to come to the meeting place. At the meeting, we have an opportunity to give one city to the rebels and one to the Empire, and to recognize the war crimes.
We want compensation for the massacre at Carthwayston.
You slaughtered the very people you claim to be fighting for. True sons of Skyrim would never do such things.
Damned Imperial lies. My men would never stoop to such methods, even in retaliation.
This
for
is
your
our
butchery
homeland,
at-
Tullius. All the blood spilled in this war is on your head.
So, Dragonborn, what do you say?
Funny thing about recognizing war crimes is that no one explains what happened. In the main quest you hear about this war crime for the first time and you have to make a decision about it. That is weird, but both sides agree after exchanging cities, and that is the victory for our hero. Esbern tells us the name of the dragon who knows where Alduin is. His name is Odavi. We must shout his name, and because of his pride he will come to fight us. But then something happens that is so stupid, so unnecessary, and that nobody wanted, that only confuses the player. Delphine orders us to kill Paternox because she found out that he is a dragon and that the blades will break off the sword to me if I don't kill him. They refuse even to talk to me and say that I am their enemy. This is the most disgusting character I've ever seen. Disgusting, horrible, because it slows down the main idea of our character. We were nobody and we become somebody. But in the second part of the story, we're still being used by somebody else who is supposed to be our servant. It makes no sense according to all rules of drama, all the rules of sense, goddammit. Delphine has to become closer to us over time, that we can empathize with her. She's a B-story character, she's our teacher and comrade. She must show us the way to become better so we could succeed. On the other hand, she will not play any role in the main story anymore, so no big deal. This is another victory. The moment bad guys close in ends. The beat where we were supposed to lose, to show the player that everything is not so easy, ends with our victory. We didn't lose in this beat, we had 2 quests, and we succeeded in both. At this point we know that we will defeat Alduin. There is no plot twist which could stop us. Remember the story I told you about the competition? In the end, our hero lost everything he had gained and was left alone. This is what is called all is lost. It is efficient, and if you try to find a moment when the hero of your favorite book or movie loses, and you think that this is the end for him, I'm sure you'll think of All Is Lost. This is the most dramatic moment in the story. If anything bad can happen, it happens right here. Right here, mentors of our heroes, friends and comrades all die. The idea is to show that the old way of thinking that has guided the character through the whole story is dying too. Only by reassessing the values, crying, begging the Lord for forgiveness and understanding what's really important for the hero, in the next moment, which is called the Dark Night of the Soul, he can get up and go fight. It's quite similar to the debate moment, as well as All Is Lost is similar to the Catalyst. All they have such similar structure because we as humans cannot accept the changes without sitting and thinking about them. We try to find the source of our problem, but in Skyrim, these 2 bits are missing. If we make a graph of tension and dynamic about Skyrim's main quest, we'll see that in the story there is no break where we suffer a series of defeats to reevaluate our tactics, maybe even ourselves as character. No, because we are a damn Terminator and nothing can stop us. This is the reason why so many people do not finish the main quest, because it's boring due to the lack of dynamics and hero's transformation. We do not empathize with the hero, we do not care about this world. When the hero comes to the conclusion of what he really is, what his goal really is, he, as a renewed version of himself, runs towards the 3rd act to defeat the enemy. This moment is called breaking free. The hero has an idea how to win, so he stops crying, and with the complete understanding of his secret problem and the resolve, he takes the first step towards their match. Nevertheless, with the help of Jarl Balgruuf, we summon Odahviing and trap him. Odahviing says he wanted to test us and does not mind to help us at all because he thinks we will win. Explains that Alduin is hiding in Sovngarde, the afterlife, where every warrior goes. He devours the souls of dead heroes, growing stronger by the second. Odahviing asks for freedom in exchange for letting us to fly on his back to the portal that leads to Sovngarde.
The bravest person I've ever met. The biggest fool.
Flying on the back of the dragon, we arrive at ancient ruins, where we find hordes of the undead. After wiping them out with the dragon priest, we step into the Sovngarde. Final is the moment when our transformed hero gives the final battle against his problems. By showing a different way of thinking that fits the idea of the story, our hero prevails. But before he does, the hero goes through some steps. First of all, the protagonist gathers the team for the final battle. For example, solving the conflict with his friends or developing the plan. After that, hero implements this plan. And if authors want, they can add another catalyst, debate and break into 4 in final. But it does not happen all the time because some finals are too short for that. But it will add some roller coaster because our additional catalyst is a surprise. Usually a plot twist that breaks the hero's plan, and after the hero is shocked again, but because he is renewed one and understands his sacred problem, during this rethinking he finally gets rid of his problems and finishes everything because he's cool. But of course, you can kill the hero if you want to, because who said it will be a happy ending? Let us return to Skyrim. We are in Sovngarde. In this mystical dimension, the souls of warriors heading for the halls of glory battle the mist created by Alduin. This fog prevents them from reaching the main palace. Despite their inability to do so, we easily pass through the fog, and on the way to the palace we meet Stune, a warrior who tests everyone who wishes to enter the halls of glory by kicking their asses. We accept his challenge and win. In Sovngarde's palace, we meet our 3 legendary warriors from the past, and with their help, we finally defeat Alduin.
Down with you, damned worm!
Post for now.
Nowhere to hide. Ultimate blood rain.
Skyrim! For sure! For Sovngarde's freedom!
Onslaught! Zunis of blood!
This short moment is used to demonstrate how the ending scene is the complete opposite of the opening scene. When we do a reversed version of the opening image, people see the contrast, the evolution of our hero, and try to remember what happened throughout the story. In Skyrim, the final image is Parternach's monologue saying that we saved the world and now he is going to become the king of all dragons.
Vakin los Oktavakrit.
The end. Good. We are done with criticism. Now we improve it. What do we have in my version? We arrive at the fortress, Alduin burns it, lets us escape, and in the end, the companion we chose sacrifices himself to let us escape. We follow the instructions he gave us about where to go, travel through the villages completely burned by Alduin, and find Riverwood that escaped the attack. From there, we are sent to the Jarl of Whiterun to ask for help. Jarl Balgrove sends guards to Riverwood and offers to bring us the ancient stone about dragons with Irelet, who will help us. On this journey we get to know Irelet better. She tells us how she met Balgrove, what they went through, and her wish for the adventures like in old times. We bring the stone to Whiterun and can take Irelet with us as a companion, but just as we get a new companion, a guard appears and reports that the watchtower has been attacked by a giant dragon. With Irelet, we run to the tower and give the fight to the dragon.
Save us. It's a dragon. Does anyone see him? No, you're going.
No matter how hard we fight, Dragon kills Irelet with all the guards and flies to Whiterun. We run back to the city, where the half of it is already burned. We defeat him with heavy losses. Our hero absorbs his soul and the Greybeards scream Dovahkiin. The people praise us as a hero. Balgrove and the nobles, after a heated discussion about what it is all means, beg us to travel to the Greybeards to learn the power of voice and save Skyrim. We travel to the top of the mountain where the Greybeards live, and after proving that we have dragon's blood, the Greybeards bow to our hero. They begin to teach us the power of voice and send us to the dungeon to get the Horn of Jurgen so we can complete the training. In the dungeon, as we fight our way through the enemies, ghosts from the past appear, telling us about the first war against Alduin in a mystical way. They do not actually tell us about a scream which we will learn in the future, or about an Elder Scroll. They just explain the context of this ancient war. Each spirit explains one part, and that way we put the whole story together. The penultimate spirit says that we'll find the solution to defeating Alduin in the Hall of Horn, and when we enter the final hall, instead of a ghost at the horn, we find a letter. In the letter, an unknown person asks us to meet in Riverwood, and there we find Delphine. She seems to be a brave and noble person who, unlike in the original, respects the Code of Blades. We ask her about the Horn of Jurgen and what the ghost said, but she demands the proof that we are Dovahkiin, and we travel to the village Grovekeen, where we find Alduin, who resurrects the dragon. We defeat this dragon, but he burns Grovekeen. After absorbing the soul of the dragon, Delphine tells us about the blades and bows and swears to serve our hero. But suddenly, we are attacked by a high elf assassin. Delphine assumes that Talmor is responsible for this attack and that they might have a connection to Alduin, since elves appeared during the first Alduin attack and during this one. She tells the story of the war between the Blades and Talmor, about the suspicion that Talmor wants to destroy this world. So we will sneak into Talmor's embassy and find out if they have any connection to the dragons. Delphine also tells us about the ghost in the last hall of the dungeon where we should have found the horn. She says that the ghost spoke of an ancient wall that holds the key to defeating Alduin. The problem is that no one knows where this wall is. Delphine tried everything to find it but failed, so this information does not play a big role now. Now we focused on Talmor. So what I did, I actually tried to connect our quests, because we traveled to the wall in the future, but now we learn about its existence during the dungeon quest. So we get the idea of the solution to defeat Alduin, but cannot use it. And I also gave us more motivation to sneak into Talmor's embassy by attacking our hero. That of course compels us to go there. We get the invitation to the party in the embassy and travel there. Everything looks like luxury, but when we sneak into the Forbidden Zone, we find a dragon lab, where elves are studying bones and skeletons of dragons and compiling all myths about them. They use captured Nords who worship Talos to work in their underground lab and torture scientists who study dragons. This is where we find out that Alduin wants to destroy this world, and Talmor wants the same thing. Talmor wants to make a transition to the new Mirific era, the time when the High Elves were gods and pure energy. This is actually an accurate lore thing, so that means our world will disappear unless we stop them. We free all the Nords and escape the embassy together, fighting our way through the Elves. The freed Nords, realizing that we are Dovahkiin, swear to serve us as well as the Dragon Scholars, and they join the Blades, telling us that Talmor is searching for Esbern, the librarian of the Blades who has studied the dragons and knows the location of the ancient wall with the prophecy of Alduin. We lead our new comrades to Delphin, and from there we travel to Riften to rescue Esbern. We find Esbern and reunite with Delphin. He tells us the location of the ancient wall. Together, we find the Temple of Blades and retake it from the Naked Man. After avoiding all the traps and entering the temple, Esbern finds the wall, but because the wall is partially erased, Esbern can only partially interpret the prophecy. It is written that if the heroes use their voices one and shout two Dragonrend, it can stop Alduin. A reasonable question arises: why has Alduin returned them? Why did the ancient heroes not defeat him? Esbern says that this very moment was erased from the wall, but the wall says that the Elder Scroll will allow descendants to learn this power when Alduin returns. We also learn that when Alduin becomes powerful enough to enter the Sovngarde and devour the souls of legendary warriors, it will mark the countdown to the end of this world. In attempt to learn more about the prophecy, we speak with Paarthurnax. However, he did not participate in the killing of Alduin. He says it is true that humans invented the shout Dragonrend, but it is also true that its destructive power corrupted their souls. The humans did not share what happened when they fought Alduin, keeping secret that the heroes did not succeed because they stopped trusting Paarthurnax. He warns us of consequences of learning this shout because it can turn our soul black. As you can see, I decided to make Talmor our second main enemy. Now they want to use Alduin, and besides him, we also have to fight Talmor. I find it's quite interesting because in the original I personally felt that there was not enough involvement of such a badass faction in the gameplay, and we are not the only ones who are interested in the dragons. Also, I always wanted to restore the Blades to their full power, and the idea of restoring them with the help of Talos zealots who see us as the resurrection of their god is quite convenient and cool. Another thing I think is written more professionally now is the prophecy of the wall, because we do not learn all the truth right away. There is still a mystery about what happened during the battle against Alduin. Also, it is not enough to just learn the shout and defeat Alduin. Now we have to combine our powers with someone else, and this is where the consequences of Tu'um come into play. Now we concentrate on finding this shout. Our hero is being sent to the Colony of Mages. There we talk to the librarian about scrolls, but he does not know much. The only one who would help us is Septimus Goni, but he disappeared a long time ago. We return to the Blades, and freed Nords tell us about Northwatch, the fortress where elves torture other part of scientists and Talos zealots. Probably they possess any knowledge about Septimi. Together with our new comrades, we manage to raid this fortress and free all the prisoners. They give us more information about Septimi, that he has gone to the north and that Talmor has already sent their agents to him. In a hurry, our hero runs to Septimi's post, kills some elves and finds a crazy old man who never stops talking about scrolls and Dwemer. Septimi reads a lecture about where the scrolls can be and sends us to the Dwemer underground city. There we fight our way through the hordes of Falmers and danger machines to the scroll. Once we have it, we travel to Paarthurnax and use it directly on the ground where the battle with Alduin took place. We are teleported to the past where the humans who created the Scream at the last moment are fighting each other over who will kill Alduin. One of them decides that he can slay Alduin himself, and because they do not fight as one, Alduin burns them, and only the last warrior who brought the Elder Scroll and wanted to combine the power of voice sends Alduin into the future as a last measure. We learn the shout Dragonrend. We return to the present and encounter Alduin, who has flown to kill us and then devour the Soundguard. We fight him, but even with the use of the shout, Alduin is still undefeatable. He nearly tears us apart when Paarthurnax sacrifices his life to save ours. We escape from Alduin. The countdown before the world will be devoured begins. We have reached the halfway point, and it's certainly a false defeat. We learned the truth about the shout. We were defeated by Alduin, Paarthurnax is dead, and the final countdown has begun. I told you I was not going to rely on countdown, but at this point it fits the context pretty well, because right now all we can do is focus on Alduin. I also tried to use our new blade companions, because in the original they did nothing when we restored them, but now we have our own army. Our hero talks to Greybeards about finding Alduin. To do this, we could capture his ally dragon in Vaitran, but Jarl Balgruuf will not agree to this while there is a civil war going on, so we arrange the peace talks at Greybeard's castle. The Imperial and rebellious sides accepted. Also Esbern shows up, but not Delphine. When we arrive, we see a Talmor representative, and it's not Elenven. The Talmor representative is trying to disrupt the negotiations, and he is our opponent here. In exchange for peace, Talmor demands to increase its presence in Skyrim, and it is up to us on what terms the negotiation will end. Negotiation ends, we have a brief peace. Esbern explains how to summon the dragon. Talmor's representative congratulates us on the victory, but also says that while we were here, elves found Blade's temple. We rush back to it, and inside the temple we find most of our small army killed and Delphine fighting the elves. Hero runs towards them, but no matter how fast he is, Delphine gets stabbed in the back. The temple is destroyed, the blades are gone. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time to say goodbye to the dead. Esbern stays with Delphine, and Hero rush to Vaitran, where we use the name of the dragon to summon Odahviing, imprison him and force him to take us to the place where we can find and defeat Alduin. Upon arrival, we see not only the ancient temple guarded by the undead, but also the Talmor expedition. We fight our way through dragons, elves and draugrs, and on the approach to the portal we see Elenven, who sneaks into the Soundguard. After killing a dragon priest, we follow her. In the mystical Soundguard lands, while going through the mist, we see lost souls of soldiers and Nords. Going further, we meet Ralof and Hadvar. After them, Irelet and Tala's zealots who became blades, but the last soul we meet is Delphine. Our hero unites with all the companions from the past, and we pass the challenge of the Naked Giant and enter the palace. Inside, we find only two of the ancestors who fought against Alduin. We do not see the one who betrayed them. After uniting, we all march out to fight. But we do not see Alduin. Instead, we are attacked by Elenven, who summons dozens of Atronachs. We kill them, and Elenven too. After appears Alduin. Two ancestors and our hero unite their voice powers. We try to kill him. Our comrades die, but Alduin is still unbeatable because we cannot fight as one. It seems we are going to lose, and to prevent this, ancestors offer us to absorb their souls as well as the souls of our friends to get their powers, and by concentrating them all in one pair of hands to finish the beast. We have no choice but to accept this offer, and after our comrades sacrifice their lives, Dovahkiin becomes some kind of half-god creature. Alduin can be killed, and our hero finishes him off. The god sure sings our name. The heroes of Soundguard bow before us. We have teleported to the mountain where the dragons greet Dovahkiin. The world is saved. This is it, my friends. It was a pleasure for me to share my vision with you. Write in the comments your vision on how to improve Skyrim, we'll discuss it together. If you liked the video, subscribe to the channel and share your ideas about what to improve next time. See you!